Before we begin, I need you to understand something about the sea. It isn't silent, it listens. Every diver knows that even if we don't talk about it out loud, down there beneath the light, the ocean keeps its own secrets buried under pressure and salt in places where even sound struggles to survive. Sometimes, when you listen long enough, you start to hear things that shouldn't be there. Things that knock back. What you're about to hear isn't a legend. It's the account of a man named Carter, an underwater engineer who survived an accident no one should have lived through. His words were found in an audio log recorded days after his rescue. He said he wanted to tell the truth before the knocking started again. My name is Carter. I've worked underwater for most of my life, maintaining oil pipelines, breathing stale recycled air through my regulator, listening to the sound of my own heartbeat echoing in my skull. People talk about the beauty of the sea, but they've never been where I work, where sunlight dies halfway down and the world becomes nothing but pressure metal and darkness. That day began like any other. We were anchored deep in the Persian Gulf between Saudi Arabia and Iran. My task was routine: inspect the vertical segment of the main oil line before deflating the plug at the top. Even so, I always felt uneasy in this place. The water here was too still, too heavy, as if it was listening. I drifted beside the pipe, its surface covered in rust and tiny white barnacles. My flashlight carved a narrow cone through the gloom. Nothing moved. Then a sound. 3 sharp metallic knocks from below. They were perfectly spaced apart. Not an echo. Not my equipment. Something else. I turned expecting to see one of my colleagues behind me. Amir maybe, but there was only the endless black. I told myself it was the metal cooling, expansion, a trick of depth. But it didn't feel that way. It felt deliberate. I could almost feel the vibration travel through the water straight into my chest. I told myself to keep working. The habitat was our home away from the surface, a square metal chamber 4 meters wide, 3 high, filled with air that tasted like salt and oil. Inside, Amir and Ahmed were waiting for me, sitting on the narrow bench that circled the room. Their flippers dipped lazily into the water below. We made jokes at first. That's what divers do when the silence outside gets too heavy. Amir was tightening the depressurizer line while Ahmed scratched his beard and stared into the rippling water. Then Ahmed said it again, the thing he'd mentioned the day before. "You know about the Water Jinn, don't you?" I groaned. "Not this again." He smiled, but his eyes didn't. "They say the spirits of drowned men live down here. They confuse divers, show them illusions. Sometimes they let them go. Sometimes they eat them." Amir rolled his eyes. "You've been watching too many horror stories." But Ahmed leaned closer to me. "I saw them," he whispered. 3 shapes in the dark, like mist. They had eyes pale shifting, like light bending through water. I laughed because I had to. But inside, something cold uncoiled in me, because I remembered the 3 knocks. I didn't tell them about that. We started the procedure as usual. The rubber plug that sealed the pipe had to be deflated slowly, evenly, so that the internal pressure didn't rush into the habitat. Everything was by the book, until it wasn't. I remember Amir flicking the switch. A hum. Then a deep animal groan from the pipe, a noise that sounded almost alive. Ahmed's head snapped up. What the hell is? And then the world imploded. The air was sucked from the room in a single impossible breath. The pressure tore through us like a storm. One moment, I was standing on the platform. The next, I was spinning weightless, crushed in a torrent of air and water. My shoulder hit the wall. Metal screamed. My mask shattered. I remember Ahmed shouting my name once, twice, before his voice was drowned in the roar. And then nothing. Only darkness. I woke to silence. There was water up to my lips, cold and thick with oil. Above me, a thin pocket of air. I couldn't move much. The walls of the pipe pressed against me from every direction. For a moment, I thought I was dead. Then a voice echoed through the metal. "Carter, Carter, can you hear me?" It was Ahmed. Somewhere behind me or ahead, I couldn't tell. My relief turned into terror when I heard another voice. "I'm here too. Amir." We talked or tried to. Every word bounced and twisted through the pipe until I couldn't tell who was where. I realized the habitat must have collapsed, and the pressure had forced us down the pipeline. The only air we had was trapped in little pockets like the one I was in. Ahmed's voice came again. "We have to move, brother. We have to crawl." I wanted to scream that it was impossible, that I could barely breathe. But then I remembered the rules of survival training. You can panic later. So I started to crawl. If you've never been inside a pipe, you can't understand what claustrophobia truly is. Your shoulders scrape metal. The air tastes like blood and rust. Every inch you move feels like being born again through a steel womb. We moved slowly, blindly, calling out to each other between breaths. Ahmed was behind me. Amir somewhere farther back. Sometimes I would find a pocket of air and call out, "Here, I found one." And we'd rest, taking turns to breathe. The air grew thinner, heavier with every stop. At one point, I found something floating near my hand, a diver's tank. My heart leapt. I checked the markings. It was mine, half full. "There's only one," I shouted. "Keep it," Ahmed called back. "You'll need it more than I do." I tried to argue. He cut me off. "Go, brother. One of us has to make it." The last thing I heard from him was laughter, soft, tired, echoing through the pipe. Tell them the Jinn were real after all. Then silence. I kept crawling, but somewhere in the blackness behind me, 3 faint knocks echoed through the metal, slow, deliberate, and perfectly spaced. The pipe began to slope upward. I could feel it. The water pressed harder on my legs. My chest burned with exhaustion. If this was the northern branch, it led to another habitat, maybe still intact. I climbed. Every few feet, my head hit the top. My hands slipped on the slick walls. My tank was running low. I could hear my own pulse louder than the hiss of air. At one point, I thought I saw light above a faint red glow. I pushed harder. The light grew brighter, bleeding through the darkness like sunrise. I almost cried. But when I reached it, I realized what it was. Not sunlight, a warning light. The emergency beacon of the upper valve sealed shut. I hit it with my fists. Once, twice, again. I screamed until my throat tore. And then 3 knocks came from the other side. I froze. The same rhythm as before. Someone or something was answering me. The lid shifted. A narrow blade of light cut through the dark. I gasped, blinded, and felt hands grab my suit, pulling me up and out of the water. Cold air hit my face. For the first time in hours, I could breathe. When my vision cleared, I saw him. Zahir. Red hair beard, eyes wide in disbelief. "Carter, what the hell? You came out of the southern line. That one's sealed?" I didn't understand what he meant. Not at first. Because we were supposed to be working on the northern branch. The southern line was over a kilometer away, the one filled with dead oil abandoned months ago. They found the bodies of Amir and Ahmed the next morning, crushed near the original habitat. They hadn't gone anywhere. The official report said they died instantly when the pressure collapsed. So who did I talk to in the pipe? I never answered the investigators. What could I say? Sometimes late at night, when the house is quiet, I hear it again. 3 faint knocks from somewhere deep below. Slow, measured, waiting. And every time I hold my breath, because part of me still thinks they're knocking back. They told me it was all in my head, that the voices I heard were echoes, that the knocks were just the pipe shifting. Maybe they're right. Maybe I went too deep for too long. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I feel that same cold pressure crawling up my chest, and I hear it again. 3 slow knocks, always 3. The same rhythm that started it all. And every time, I wonder if they're still down there, waiting in the dark, or if they ever really left me at all. So if you ever find yourself near the Gulf, and you hear something tapping faintly beneath the waves, don't answer, because once it knows you're listening, it never stops.